Um, Welcome everyone to the first of a couple of different virtual events that we got going on. This being the student panel. Just an opportunity for you guys to hear from different students in the community, to hear their perspectives and experiences as they've gone through the school. And obviously we're new at some point in their St. Andrew's career. So how this works is, so I have a list of kind of common questions that come up that I'll go through with them. And if you guys want to put in the chat or either raise your hand to, I'm not sure if I have, actually just put in the chat your questions. So I'll go through the common questions, and then at the end, I'll give you guys some time to put some questions in the chat, and then we'll get those taken care of. So I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Jordan Porch. I may have seen a couple of you throughout the admissions process. I work as an admissions associate, obviously junior boys dorm parent, soccer coach, doing a lot of different things around this community. So I'll let the panelists kind of introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. Maybe I'll just go in the order that's on my screen. Rainey, you want to start us off? Maybe just like name, where you're from, what you do here, maybe?
Yeah, so I'm Elizabeth. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a senior. I'm one of the head ambassadors for the Cardinal Society, which is the admissions group on campus. I acolyte for the chapel services. I'm a co-head of the Sketch Comedy Club, and I'm a captain of the swim team. That's what I do.
Cool. Nick Osbourne, champ. You want to take us away?
My name is Nick. I'm a fifth former or junior. I'm from Jersey. I'm on the Forum Council. I am also the captain of the wrestling team.
Atkinson.
My name is William Atkinson. I'm a senior, and I'm from San Francisco, California. I'm one of the co-heads of the honor committee. I'm also, a member of the squash team and soccer teams, of which on the squash team, I'm one of the captains. And I'm also a senior who lives in freshman dorm. So I work really closely with with the freshmen, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. And Zhenya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zhenya. I'm originally from Kyiv, Ukraine, and I'm a senior. St. Andrews, I dance. I also row. And last year I was in Student Diversity Committee, and I'm pretty involved with the Cardinal Society.
Appreciate it. We have one more panelist coming, but we've gotten some technical difficulties, so we'll let her in and then introduce herself when she pops in. But we'll get started. The first question that usually comes up in the admissions process is just like, because there is a bit of kind of like stress involved when you're gonna be welcomed into a new community. So I'm gonna ask the panelists here, what was that first feeling when you got accepted into boarding school, and then had that light bulb moment when it went off, like I'm actually going to spend my 4 years at a new place with new people in a new environment?
Yeah, Mr. Porch, if you don't mind, I'll just quickly introduce myself.
Sorry, wow. Yo, go ahead.
So we're still waiting for another.
Yeah, we are.
It's perfectly fine. So hi, everyone, I'm Yo-Yo. I'm originally from Shanghai, China. I went to a junior boarding school in Connecticut before I came to St. Andrews as a new sophomore. And here at St. Andrews, I am the co-head of International House, the co-head of Asian Affinity Group. I'm also the captain of cross-country team. Right now, I am working with the admission and am one of the interns. Thank you.
Thanks, Yo-Yo. I didn't mean to forget you. So since you Yo-Yo, do you want to start with the first the question? Like, what was that moment when you realized that you're going to spend the next 4 years of school at a different place, and like what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, so like coming from a junior boarding school, for me, boarding school life is pretty much very familiar, and I know like the basic structures, like how to work with another roommate or roommates and stuff like that. But as a new sophomore, I'd say at first, especially during the summer, when I didn't know anyone from campus, I was a little scared just because I don't know anyone, and I was pretty confirmed that everyone in my class already formed their friend groups and know a bunch of people on campus. But I think coming on campus, like the moment I stepped on this campus, everything went really smoothly because first of all, I have my a lot of tutors, and I also have my advisor who really helped me a lot. And one thing special I think at St. Andrews is a lot of the seniors, they are like distributed on different dorms. So seniors actually don't have their own dorms like sophomores or juniors. So I think that really helped me a lot just because a lot of seniors on my dorm are also new sophomores. So I think that really helped me a lot when I came here. And oh, Mr. Porch, Lily just joined.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Let's just keep going with the question, and then I'll have Lily introduce herself afterwards. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add. But yeah, obviously, like some of these kiddos are coming from junior boarding schools. Some of them have, no background within the boarding school community, and others have like been around it their whole life. So like it definitely varies in that way. So
Yeah, I think I can speak from kind of more of the perspective of those who are a little bit more familiar with boarding school. My sister went to boarding school. She's 6 years older than I am. And so I kind of grew up with her away from home. And I just saw someone's question in the Q&A section about losing touch with things from home. And I'll say that when I first arrived to St. Andrews, even though I was someone who's experienced with the idea of boarding school and what it was going to look like, I think my initial reaction was the same as pretty much everyone, which is that I was homesick. I wanted to go home. I wanted to see my parents. And for the first few days, I missed all of those aspects of home. But what happens is really quickly you're living with all of your friends, and you're living with your classmates, and you're surrounded by this community all the time, that you end up very quickly feeling like St. Andrews is your home, or at least an extension of your home, and you don't lose touch with your friends from home that much. I mean, you obviously aren't with them all the time, so you fear that, but you end up that the time that you end up spending with them when you go back for break and stuff like that is even more cherished. And for me, I've noticed that I haven't lost touch with my family or my friends from home that much, but that I've had an extension of that at St. Andrews, and I've just felt really welcome. And within a few days, St. Andrews kind of became that second home to me, which I think is something special, really special about boarding school, and really special about this community.
I have a kind of like an add-on question for that. Are there like certain events that we strategically do to make new students feel a part of the community?
The first day you get to school, which is a school tradition, we have a giant square dance, which is something that you definitely won't see at other boarding schools. My sister went to Groton, which is in Massachusetts, if any of you know, and they definitely didn't have a square dance on their first day. But it's beautiful and sunny in Middletown, Delaware, when you first arrive to St. Andrews, and you go outside and there's a live band playing. I mean, I don't even know what type of music, square dance music. I'm from San Francisco, so I was not accustomed with what that was. And everyone gets around in a big circle and dances with each other and does a square dance, which seems very silly, but it's honestly kind of a magical way to bring everyone together on the first day, and really quickly brings you into the fold with everyone. And what you'll notice is that your friends don't only just exist in your grade. You're not really surrounded with people by that grade. But I remember my first day, there was older students who came up to with me and saw me maybe drifting out and losing touch with the group, and brought me and asked me to dance. And that kind of stuff is something that's unique about a small school like St. Andrews, that really has people that care like that. And so I'm trying to think of other things, but that's really the memorable one, which happens every single year, is the square dance.
Just to add on to that, the one for that really did it for me to introduce me to the community was freshman year, our Frosty Run. And basically the Frosty Run is like a couple of weeks after we all arrive here. Like we will go to a Wendy's in each form. So the freshmen or the third formers will go to the furthest Wendy's. The sophomores or the fourth formers will go to the second or the third closest, and so on. And I just remember like the being on the bus and even being at the actual restaurant was so fun. And even then, that's what really got my grade and me to start opening up with each other and start becoming friends and creating long-lasting friendships.
There you go.
I think a really good other one is the homecoming dance, which we sadly weren't able to do this year. But normally it's not like a conventional homecoming. We do like teammates. So the seniors and freshmen go together and they do like little activities together, and the juniors and sophomores. So my freshman year, since I was the tallest girl, they put me with the tallest senior boy. His name was Mark. And like even after that, we would always see each other, and we ended up having like dinners together every couple months. But it really shows that like it's not really a thing here that you only hang out with your grade or with like a small group of people. It's like you're really connected all through the grades, which I think is really special because you don't find that in a lot of other schools.
Nice. Anyone else want to add in before I let Lily introduce herself? Lily Murphy, glad to have you here.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't have an Apple computer, so I think there was some issues that arose. But yeah, my name is Lily. I'm currently a junior at St. Andrews. I have a twin brother here and a freshman sister. And I would say the community programs that I'm most involved with are probably the athletics program, specifically running, and I'm on the forum council as well.
Okay, appreciate it. Maybe we can just go through, like, this is a pretty straightforward and blunt question, but like, why did you guys end up choosing St. Andrews? I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, I have an interesting story with that. I had no interest in coming to St. Andrews. I was very adamant on going to an independent school. But I came to visit with my brother because my parents forced me to come. But instantly, once I stepped foot on the school and I heard all of the praise my tour guide was giving, I fell in love and my mind was immediately changed. So it definitely is one of those things where you have to live that experience to know. But yeah.
Yeah, it might sound like a little basic or cliche, but the reason I chose St. Andrews was definitely because of the community. I just remember coming to campus and my tour guide was so friendly and everyone was saying hi to me as I was touring, and then visit back day was the same thing. So I just felt already before I even accepted or before I chose to go to St. Andrews, like it was my home. And then even coming here just proved it.
Yeah, I actually, so I didn't have an opportunity to either tour St. Andrews or like just sort of see how it is in real life. So it was sort of scary to just go somewhere across the sea and not even knowing whether I would like it or not. And for me at that moment, it was definitely more about the academic opportunities. And I think once I came here, I really understood that St. Andrews is so much more than just a school. It's really what Nick was talking about is really a lot about the community. It's a lot about the conversations we're having, not even in the classroom. So that's kind of the why I would say right now versus the why I would say before coming to St. Andrews.
Nice.
I was kind of in a similar boat to William. I have a brother, he's a sophomore in college now, but he went to a boarding school in the Northeast that was like really cutthroat pressure cooker type of school. And he always has told me, like, I don't regret my experience going there because it gave me so many opportunities, but I wish I had more fun there. And he was class of 2020, so he didn't get his senior spring, which kind of like is the only really fun time for them kind of at that school. And I was deciding between this school and his. And one thing that drew me to St. Andrews so strongly is like the importance of culture and having a life outside of your academics, like having really strong friendships and relationships with teachers and coaches and faculty members, which this school just really stands out in the world of boarding schools with that. So that was ultimately how I made my decision.
Yeah, I agree with you. And similar for me, I was actually choosing between St. Andrews and a school that's in Philly at the end, like in April, until the visit back day. I couldn't decide. So I came here with my dad. And I think one thing that immediately made me choose St. Andrews is because of the tour guides. And like Nick said, the people here when I visited, or who I talked to during visit back day. So I think like right now, like you can hear us say, oh, because of the people, because of the community. It might sound really cliche, but it really is what, defines St. Andrews. And like Rainey said, there are a lot more schools in the world that are also academically challenged. But at the same time, is this what you really want? Is this what you want your child to have during their precious 4 years?
And I'll speak as just like a faculty member kind of looking in. I actually didn't go to St. Andrews, but I feel like I've been like kind of connected with this community for some time. Like my family is from Middletown, like a mile off campus, although only 45 minutes north of here. And just a little background about me. I was pretty gung-ho soccer player in high school. And I don't feel like my high school kind of tapped into the other interests I might have had and inquired about it, like just like leadership opportunities that you'll get at St. Andrews. Faculty members will always ask you, like, what else are you interested in besides the things that you that come naturally to you. So for me as a faculty member, it's always cool to see like our athletes doing different things in the community, whether it's, within the theater program or just them getting outside their comfort zone and just being a part of this community as a whole. Go ahead.
I can quickly go, as I think I'm the only one who hasn't spoken. I think basically what other people have said, like Elizabeth said, my sister went to another boarding school in the Northeast. And I was choosing between here and there. And it was visit back day that made the difference for me. I had gone to the other school first, thinking I was going to go. I had actually accepted to go to that school instead of St. Andrews, which is a longer story. But I ended up changing my acceptance after visit back day. Mainly because there was something different about St. Andrews. People genuinely wanted to have conversations about their experience. They genuinely wanted to talk fondly about the school. It didn't seem forced. It was welcoming. It was kind. And that is what makes St. Andrews special to me, and is why I ended up coming here.
Cool. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Kind of getting into the academic day, and it's a pretty basic question and students ask, like, what is the typical the daily schedule? What does that look like, just in terms of, and then we can eventually get into like workload and what does that look like for students, but maybe just one of you went through the typical daily schedule. Yeah.
So you basically have to, so we do have a breakfast check-in for underformers, except like everyone except seniors. So you have to check into breakfast around 8:20, and then classes would start at 8:30. You would have your first class from 8:30 into about 9:45. Then we'd have a 30-minute break between both first and second period. So second period would start at 10:15. That would go until 11:30, and then we would have sit down lunch. That would end around 12:15, depending on which day it is. And then your third and fourth block from 12:15 until 3. Then after that, you have sports at 4. Get out of sports around 6 o'clock. You have dinner until 7. And then you have the rest of the night until study hall at 8.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And, like depends on different days. We have different events. Like, for instance, Wednesday night, we usually have chapel, which is a really important part of our school. And it's mandatory. So everyone would go after dinner. And also on Sunday morning, before brunch, we would also have another chapel in the actual chapel. So everyone dresses up really nicely and go there around an hour, I'd say. So twice per week. And usually like Tuesday between first and second block, we would also have advisory meetings. This is like a special time for you to meet with your advisee and your advisor. So people usually would have functions or bring some snacks over there, just a 30-minute bonding time. Yeah, and weekends, of course, varies a lot depending on what events we have.
On Mondays, we also have what's called sleep in, which is very nice. It's every Monday. So while classes start at 8:30 every day, every other day, on Monday, classes actually start at 8:55, which is a good window.
Yeah. Does anyone want to shed light on just like I don't know, just like the workload in general, and being someone who didn't go to boarding school, like I'm always impressed by like the productivity of like you guys at study halls. Like, does anyone want to like note what the workload is like, and maybe like the best utilize your time, your free time here?
Yeah, one thing I appreciate about St. Andrews is it is academically challenging, but it's all within like a manageable framework. You can always have the opportunity to have extensions. You never have to sacrifice having free time, spending time with your friends. It's all very manageable. So I would say while it does take time to acclimate to, you eventually get into a groove and the workload feels much more comfortable.
I think also a very distinct part of like St. Andrew's schedule is that we have like a rotating schedule. So we have 7 blocks and you take 5 to 6 academic courses. And then the 7th is you're free. So you either have 2 free blocks or 1 free block. And so during that free block, you can do work. But also the really good part about the rotating schedule is that from today to tomorrow, you don't have all 4 classes of homework to do. And therefore you only have one class like that is only like that only has like sort of this hour for like every class limits the amount of homework and the time you should spend on homework to around 45 minutes. So if you manage your time well, and if you really use your free blocks and the study hall during the evening, it's really manageable. And so the schedule allows for it.
Speaking of free time and utilizing it, I want to ask, like, how do you guys like what is how do you guys best like relieve your stress? Like what are you guys doing on the weekends that is not academic but kind of allows you to relax and just take in the boarding school experience?
So here on campus, we have a group called SWAG, which is Student Weekend Activity Group. So basically, there are a few members from each grade, and they just basically like plan fun activities for us to do throughout the weekend. And even if you don't want to do something that's on the weekend plan or like the schedule for the weekend, there's so much you can do. You know, there's 2,200-acre campus, so depending on the season, you could take a nice walk in the woods. You can go on the front lawn, play spike ball, which is pretty big here, or play frisbee. And basically, like we all know what each other are going through, especially when it comes to like heavy academic parts of the year. So I find it very easy to relax when we are like hanging out on the front lawn or just doing something fun.
Anyone else want to chime in here? Elizabeth, are you a part of swag?
No, but that's like one of my biggest regrets. I wish I was, just because I feel like that's a really fun group. But I don't know. I was thinking more about during the week, where I kind of find time to still have fun because, obviously Monday through Friday is when we're like grinding at school. But so after sports end, so I get out at like 5:45, 6, have dinner. And as a senior, our study hall technically runs from 8 to 10:30, and that's when we check in back on dorm. It's a little longer than the other grades. But what I like to do is just make sure I have like an hour to an hour and a half of just like hanging out with friends because I think that's really healthy to do. Not just like right after you eat to go back to your room and start working until like you go to sleep. And that's something that a lot of kids do at our school is go outside to the front lawn and hang out with other kids in the grade or in the school before heading back to their dorms. And I actually like to start a little bit earlier. I'll go back to dorm at like 7:30, just then I can get back to dorm sooner. Maybe watch an episode or something, hang out with my sophomores on the dorm. But yeah, that's kind of how I find time to socialize while, still making sure I'm getting all my work done.
Forge, also, if it's okay, I think there's some questions being raised that are applicable to this that I think I'll go ahead and answer.
Thank you, Greg. Good.
I think so first of all, we do occasionally have Saturday classes. I just saw someone type that into the chat, I think. But it's been intermittent this year. We've had them only when we've had lost classes on another day. So like one time we had long weekends and we had a class on Saturday to fill out the week because we got back on like a Wednesday. But for the most part, every single Saturday, I would say there's not Saturday classes would be my official answer. It kind of varies, but you're not going to school every single Saturday. In terms of the weekends, I think there's always something to do. I think Nick brought up a lot of good points about swag. There's always events that you can go to do. There's trips into town. There's trips into Starbucks. Advisors will always take you if you need to go somewhere to get groceries or stuff like that. Another thing, I saw someone ask if any of us are athletes on the panel going to college. I know Elizabeth is a swimmer who's going to Colgate. I'm a squash player who's going to Amherst. And in terms of that, a lot of what I'd sometimes do in the weekend is go and actually play my sport. So another little aspect of St. Andrews is you have 3 different seasons, and you're not allowed to play your sport in the season that it's not during. So during the fall, when I'm playing soccer, I often go to the squash courts and play on weekends to keep playing squash at the highest level possible. And there's always trainers that are, Al is our physical trainer in the gym who's willing to work with you if you need help with that. So that's sometimes something that I do, but really there's always things that can be done at St. Andrews. There's so many resources there to make things fun and enjoyable. We also are a campus with 2,000 acres of land, I think. I don't know. I think that's the official number that I remember from when I visited St. Andrews. So people go on walks in the woods. You can go and explore the campus. It's beautiful. Knoxon Town Pond is also beautiful, which is where we're based. So when it's warm out in the spring, especially, which is probably the most fun time on campus, which is approaching, people go and take canoes out on the pond. There's paddle boards. And it's a lot of fun. Like St. Andrews boarding school in general is a lot like, I think of it kind of as like glorified summer camp. You're kind of here for whatever, almost 9 months out of the year, excluding summer and breaks. And you're with your friends. So it's probably the most fun you could imagine. And so those are kind of the things that happen on weekends and during free time, I think.
Yeah, spring at St. Andrews is just like the most wonderful time of the year. I remember exam week, which normally other schools is like the most stressful time of the week. Exam week in the spring at St. Andrews is like a vacation. Like obviously you have your study halls and you are working during those times and you have your one required exam per day. But I remember freshman year, I was sending my mom pictures of me like paddleboarding with my friends in the afternoon on the pond, or like, going out to eat. It's like the spring is such a good time because we have the pond open. And I think that's something that kind of sets St. Andrews apart is we have that like so close to us. Like especially, I don't know if anyone on here is interested in rowing, but at other campuses you have to travel to go to the body of water that you row in, whereas here it's right in front, and it's really great for like regattas you can watch. But yeah, like canoeing, paddleboarding, you name it, swimming, we do it all. We play like Foursquare on the floating dock out there in front of the T dock. But yeah, that's something that's like really special about St. Andrews in the spring.
I think there was a question about performing arts, and I think that's sort of something that also is a possibility during the weekends. Usually there are several productions for dance and for theater and for musical, and those are always so fun to watch. And usually it's not like a single time that we have the production. It's usually like a Friday and a Saturday, or a Saturday and a Sunday. So like this year it was like Mamma Mia was the musical, the winter musical, and it was so awesome. Like I saw people going twice. It was really, really great. And so I think that's sort of a part of especially I think during the winter, that is everyone is looking forward to, of like having this mini production on campus. And obviously for people who do performing arts, this is like the main, this is like their their time to shine and their time to show what they have been working on the whole season. As well as we also have clubs that are doing productions, but not as a part of the afternoon activity, but rather they do it themselves. I know there's musical theater showcase. There are also Knocks and Tones, and there are definitely like the Andrians. They sing during the chapels, but also they have their own sort of shows when they perform for the whole school. So there are definitely a ton of opportunities for performing arts, whether you want to do it as like afternoon activity, or whether you want to do a sport and then complement it with something performing artsy, just like outside of sort of the dedicated time. So I think this is kind of how the performing arts and the weekends look like.
Yeah, and to quickly add on to Jenya's point, I saw someone in the chat ask, can you do sports and a play in the same season? Unfortunately, I don't think so. So usually the play, like Jenya mentioned, the winter play happens in the winter season, and you either have to choose to do a sport like squash or basketball or swimming, or like you have to dedicate your time, your whole afternoon every week to the play, because it does require a lot of energy and time for both the students and faculties to put up a play together. However, we do have, like Jenya mentioned, a lot of clubs that have performing art elements in it, like Knox and Tone. And with those clubs, you also do have a lot of opportunities. Like I know, I think our school is going to the White House to perform next year. So opportunities like that for performing arts, we do have a lot of them, even though you might be doing a sport at the same time.
I actually have heard of a situation where there was one track athlete who additionally performed for the musical. I think there are certain situations where the athletic department can be flexible, but unless it's a very low commitment sport, I think it could be possible. But for something that's more of a team bonding and committal sport, I think Yo-Yo is completely correct.
I'll go ahead.
Raphael. I was just gonna comment on when I had a question about she said her dad had went to St. Andrews and he had a job before first period. That is not happening anymore, but I am advocating for the Cardinal Society and its members to get a little incentive when they do tours. The Cardinal Society being our student ambassadors program, who many of you have met when you came to classes, came to campus. Atkinson has given some tours. Lily Murphy, actually everyone on this panel is a part of our group. But yeah, no jobs before class, but hold that thought because we're gonna get that rolling. Go ahead, Atkinson. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna answer one of the questions about trying new sports. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so I think I said this. I'm on the squash team, and I know a lot of the squash players. Squash is a sport that a lot of people haven't tried, and I think in the athletics program in general, there's always the opportunity to try new sports. Many of the members of this current squash team didn't ever play squash before coming to St. Andrews. A lot of really good players are actually people who have picked it up and started at St. Andrews and are now really strong players who contribute to the varsity program, which is a great aspect of squash in particular, but also athletics in general, where there's a varsity JV and often a thirds level for most sports. So you're able to play and learn and get coached really effectively and rise up the ranks by your senior year.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Will, I never ran before I came to St. Andrews, and I began competing cross country my freshman year off of the whim. And eventually I fell in love with the sport. The coaching at St. Andrews is very inclusive and dedicated, especially to individual athletes. And I like to describe the sports program as challenge by choice, because they don't put a necessary pressure on athletes to achieve some very excellent level. It's more if you want to push yourself to that degree, that's within your own motivation. And also there is a fitness center at St. Andrews. You often can go work out at the gym during your free periods, after sports, before sports, whatever you need to do to get in some extra training, that's always accessible.
Another thing off of what Lily was saying is that this is not a school where if you were on thirds freshman year, then you're going to be on thirds your senior year. People definitely move up the ranks as they come to St. Andrews. And, if you're a freshman and you're really good at your sport, you're not just going to be on JV because you're a freshman. St. Andrews definitely has all different grades on all different sides of the team. And also I joined lacrosse last year as a junior just because I needed to do a spring sport, and it was so much fun, first time doing it. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid of trying a sport you've never done before. If anything, I would encourage it just because St. Andrews has amazing coaches, and it's not something to be afraid. I think at other schools it's something that people might be nervous about with club athletes and stuff, but yeah, it's a great thing at St. Andrews.
Yeah, I would just add a little bit because I came as a new junior and I have never rowed before in my life before coming here. In fact, I was a little bit scared of the boats, but but I really went I think it was such an opportunity to try something new and something that I knew I would otherwise not have an opportunity to try. So I think whether it is a sport like rowing or whether it is a sport that you always wanted to try, I don't know, and you've even if you had the opportunity to try it but you've never tried it, St. Andrews is definitely a place where you can. I think one of the first webinars that someone used the phrase "risk safely." It's exactly how it is. You can go for it and see how it goes, and then just see if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, maybe next year you're going to try a different sport for the season.
Yeah, and also like usually the first week of the season, you are able to switch to other teams if you think, the sport doesn't fit me that well.
I saw a question asking about the chapel program in the perspective of someone who isn't Episcopalian. My religious denomination is Greek Orthodox, but I'm still on the student vestry. You don't have to be Episcopalian to participate in chapel. While they can be religiously focused, sometimes they're more of a opportunity for the whole community to come together, listen to other community members' perspectives and stories. And it feels more of like a community bonding opportunity than a religious service, I found.
Yeah, our chapels aren't always just like mainly Episcopalian. We also have chapels from the South Asian Affinity Group. We have chapels from the Jewish Affinity Group. An affinity group is basically just students of the same denomination or students in the same group coming together, and they have like, it's a club pretty much, and then they would also have chapels. So every chapel definitely isn't going to be Episcopalian. Like Lily said, it's more of an opportunity for the community to come together.
And we usually would invite speakers from outside of the school or even faculties on campus to speak for us during chapel. So although I would say like if you feel really uncomfortable doing that, definitely, you can reach out some of the faculties, and I'm sure they were able to help you.
Also, my roommate is Catholic, and she used to take a van. There used to be a Catholic van that they would go to mass on Sunday. So there's definitely like opportunities if you want to go to like a temple or a synagogue, like those resources are available for you.
Someone asked if we have a fitness center. Yes, we do. We do have a gym. It's in our field house, and you can, it's like connected to the squash centers, the track, the basketball court, the volleyball court. It's huge.
There was a question about golf, I believe.
I can answer that one, Mr. Porch.
Okay, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, golf. Really good question, honestly. Class question, if you ask me. Me and a few of my friends have actually played golf. There is actually now a new golf club which has been formed, which is going to go and try to actually play golf, especially this spring. It's brand new, so hopefully we can get out there and hit the links. But more seriously though, like there's a bunch of different clubs for every single interest you can possibly think of. Honestly, there's more clubs than I can even think of ever. People are always coming up with new things that they're interested in. So if there's something you want to do that also just doesn't exist, you can start a club and make it happen. So I think the golf club is a good example of actually that, although it's kind of a silly joke to me. Because a few of my friends who are serious golfers got the husband of our head of school to actually bring them out to the golf club, the course nearby, which is actually really nice. I know that because I've seen it, and go play golf together. So I think there's always an opportunity to make something like that happen at St. Andrews, and to do what you want to do. So yeah,
I'll be taking my advisees out relatively soon to the courses we'll play.
There was one question about what happens if you did a sport in middle school that can't be accommodated at St. Andrews. Before I came to St. Andrews, I was a competitive gymnast and an aerial gymnast. That was my sport before I transitioned into running. And my sister as well was a competitive gymnast. Obviously, we don't have a gymnastics team here at St. Andrews, but she's still able to exercise her abilities through the dance program. I know many individuals who have experience in tap dancing or ballet often have Zoom classes where they're able to keep their skills fresh and continue to pursue their passions. So most times your athletic interests can be accommodated.
Someone asked what it's like being in a dorm the first few weeks when you got to St. Andrews. So when I was a freshman, I lived in a quad, which was pretty much me and 3 other roommates. And I remember the first night I couldn't sleep at all. And if I did fall asleep, I woke up again, mostly because I was nervous and because I was in a new setting. And then the next day or like the next night, we were all talking before we went to sleep, and one of us brought up how they couldn't sleep at all last night, and then all of us were like same, same, same. So pretty much everyone's gonna be nervous the first night, but after that, it'll get so much better and it'll become so much more fun. All the late night talks with their roommates will get so much, will be so much fun. Yeah.
This is a pretty good question. If you can change one thing, and we got probably 10 minutes or so, so just keep these questions flying. We'll go as long as we can. If you could change one thing about St. Andrews, what would it be? Very good question. Don't say you wouldn't change anything, because
I'd say the fact that my dog's not here. If there were one thing, that'd be the overriding issue.
but there are plenty of dogs that are here.
Exactly. So I don't even feel like I can complain about that.
Yeah.
I wish that we had like a designated student center. There used to be one, but the front lawn is like our main social place in the fall and in the spring. But like the second the weather gets cold, no one wants to be out there. And especially it's always pretty windy because of the pond. And cold and windy is not a good combination. So we kind of move into the dining hall, which isn't really a problem. Like we'll set up like ping pong tables on the like lunch tables and stuff. But I think it'd be nice if we had a space just for the students to go and relax and hang out, especially for the wintertime.
Sometimes I wish I had like a 25th hour because usually the days are very like packed with events and I think and like just work and it depends on day, like one week might be easier than the other, but sometimes it's just like you really wish you had this like 1 hour to just, I don't know, watch a TV show. So that's
I'll say one thing. I think it's hard. I mean, I genuinely think it's hard to find a fault in St. Andrews that's something like that you would really want to change. One thing I will say is sometimes the whole social pressure of boarding school gets a little bit overwhelming. Like, you know, there's part of being at boarding school where you have to be present 24/7, and sometimes you just want to decompress and kind of just do nothing for the sake of doing nothing. And part of the nature of this community is that you're always engaged, you're always doing something. And so if there's one thing I would change would just be having time to be able to do nothing for the sake of doing nothing. I know it seems kind of stupid, but that would be my answer, because in general, we're always going here at St. Andrews. And so sometimes like going for a long weekend, just going home is such a blessing, because I can just sit in my bed and not have to get up and feel pressure to talk to people or go to class or do this and that. So that'd be the one thing for me.
That's a good point. Trying to think, or trying to see if there's any other questions that came up.
There was one about sit down meals. Oh.
Sit down meals.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Rainey. Sorry.
So my favorite story about sit down meals is, so I was with the Hansels, so that's the college counselor, and then one of the administrative admissions, like she does everything. Mrs. Hansel does everything at the school. And we were having a debate. So all the tables are made up of like 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, 2 juniors, 2 seniors, roughly. It kind of changes and varies per table, but we were talking about what non-dairy milk was the best. And we were all arguing. Some were saying like soy, almond, oat, you know, I'm an oat girl. And then the next day she shows up, Mrs. Hansel, with blindfolds, and every non-dairy milk you can think of, like all the weird ones, like cashew milk. And she gave us like these sheets of paper that said like the numbers. She covered up the labels and put numbers on them, and we had to rank them. And so literally, I don't even think, maybe I ate, I don't know. I was drinking a lot of non-dairy milk, and it was so funny, and it's something that I think is so St. Andrews. And by the end, I think it was like almond milk that won, boo. But I think that that's just like kind of sums up what the sit down meals are like. You just total icebreakers with the other grades. I think it's like one of the best ways, besides maybe the square dance or homecoming, that kind of bring together the different grades. But yeah, I love the sit down meal experience, and it switches about every 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. It feels like about every time we leave for break, or maybe a little less than that. But yeah, it's great, and it's definitely something I appreciate about St. Andrews.
Yeah, that would be one thing I'd change, is like I would make the sit down meals longer. Because there's just like this emphasis on just like talking. Like I'm a talker as well. Like my table is table 31. It's a great table. But yeah, I would just make it longer so we have time to actually eat more food and then socialize. But yeah. Maybe just like one more question if we can find a good one. Shall see any?
There's one that says, do you ever feel like St. Andrews is too small? Which I'm not sure if we've answered yet.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I thought that was a good question. I came from Philadelphia, where it's a very big city, and a lot of the independent schools are interconnected with each other. So you have a lot of opportunities to like take different classes off of campus. So coming to St. Andrews, it was a very different feeling. But I think a lot of the weekend activity programs make an active effort to allow you to leave campus property and get out of school. So you never feel too suffocated, because you're still leaving campus when you're having like interscholastic sports games, or if you're on Model UN, going to the Acme, you still have that breath of fresh air.
I think I'll just add in, like, the way we've been operating for the past 2 years has been so, and maybe, I don't know, people who have been here for prior to COVID can kind of speak to this, just like, your advisor can take you to Philadelphia. Like we're right kind of in a pretty good spot, like location wise, where we can get to DC or New York relatively quickly. So like, your advisor can take you out there. It's just, we haven't really had the opportunity to do so, just because we're trying to keep our students safe. And but in years past, like, we're buzzing around and traveling all over.
Yeah, I'd say we do have a relatively smaller community, like size-wise, population-wise, but our field is like endless. We're like in the middle of a cornfield. We have tons of land, and cross-country actually practice in one of those fields. So I'd say no, the campus itself is not small at all. And also you have the opportunity to like walk to town even during COVID. Like right now we're able to walk to town, although our advisors are unable to take us, to drive us somewhere. But yeah.
I think when I was going to St. Andrews, I was I really wanted sort of the small school experience, because I came from a school that was very, like it was fairly big in Ukraine. So it was like a regular public school. And so for me, I think it makes it so much easier to, I don't know, give an announcement during the lunch, or give an announcement during the school meeting, or run for a leadership position when you know that people who are around you most likely had a conversation with you or two. Just when you have this connection and you know that that like everyone sort of knows each other's names, it's much easier to like take part in leadership, or just sort of do something and not be afraid that this is not going to be accepted well. So that's definitely a good part about it.
I'll also say I think a lot of the small school thing is basically personal preference. And one of the questions I think that I forget who answered it. It was Elizabeth who was talking about school lunches. The sit down meals I think kind of encapsulate the great thing about the smallness of this community. So we all fit in our dining hall, which is not very large. But what happens is you sit 2 people per grade. So there's 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, 2 juniors, and 2 seniors. And you end up meeting a lot of people really quickly because the tables rotate. And so you're just getting to know all these people from all different grades, from all different ages, and different faculty as well. And so you just get to learn about all of these people really closely and really fastly. And it just is really interesting. So I think that's something that I really like. And I really like that small community aspect of St. Andrews, where you get to know everyone really well. A lot of times that is also like a lot because, you know, we are so small and everyone knows everything. That's kind of a boarding school saying, which can seem a lot, which is part of the reason when I say the one thing I'd like to change from St. Andrews is taking some time off. But I think overall that's an overwhelmingly positive part of this community is how tight it is and how small it is. Because there are so many interesting people and so many different people from different backgrounds that getting to know them is just interesting and super special.
Well, I'll start to wrap this up, and I'll end with, and maybe just a couple of you guys can just give your, if you were to give any advice to an incoming St. Andrean, short bit of advice, what would it be? Maybe just a couple of you. All of you don't have to answer because it's 8:30 now. Any advice?
Just be yourself. I promise you will be accepted here at St. Andrews, no matter what you believe in, no matter how you identify, you'll be accepted. I truly think the best thing you can do as being a St. Andrean is to be yourself.
One of the most like iconic mantras here at St. Andrews is opt in. And while it sounds cliche, I think being vulnerable and trying something that's out of your comfort zone is a very like fundamental quality that a lot of people have within this culture. And I think that it attributes to why the culture at St. Andrews is so unique, I would say.
Yeah, I would say don't afraid to ask help or to get help, because oftentimes you'll find yourself in a situation you don't know how to solve, but you know a lot of other people are also in the same shoe with you. So here you have a lot of resources, so use them smart.
I mean, I feel like this is like the most cliche thing I could say, but you really should live in the moment. I mean, this is kind of a thing here where days are slow, weeks are fast. And I feel like you just have to soak it all up because it feels like 2 minutes ago, I was a freshman and now I have 2 months left and it's senior year. And you just make the most of it. There's so many wonderful things to do here and great people to meet that come from all walks of life. So just make the most of it. And yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. It's 8:30 now, so I'll let you guys go. Just a reminder, there's a couple of different virtual events coming up. On Tuesday, there's the Explore Inclusion and Belonging. On Thursday, there's the SACE game night. We had an event like that last year, which turned out to be pretty cool. It's the game night. It's Escape the Room. So like if you guys are interested in that type of thing, that you should definitely check that out. And then an international panel on Sunday. But thanks again. And thank you to the panelists. You guys were great. And if not, we'll see you on the 29th for Visit Back Day. Hopefully we'll see you on the 29th or the 5th of April. But thank you all for coming. Thanks. See you. Bye.